Welcome to this episode of Filming the Wild. The footage you just saw was shot over the course of several weeks here in Arizona as I was testing out the new 300 to 600 f4 from Sigma. I had the privilege of taking that lens over the last few weeks here in the Sonoran Desert nearby my home here in Phoenix and put that lens to the test. And I recently released this 14-minute cinematic journey that showcases what that lens is capable of producing. Be sure to go check it out. There's a link in the description below. And if you're new to this channel, I create films and documentaries about nature and wildlife and give more in-depth behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to make those films. So if you're interested in that kind of content, be sure to subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up. Today we're going to dive more into what was behind the concept of producing that cinematic film.
My name is Alan Lacey, and I'm a wildlife filmmaker, cameraman, and producer. I've worked on shows for National Geographic, PBS Nature, Disney Plus, and the BBC. Join me as I explore the amazing world of nature and show you what it's like filming the wild.
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I had the privilege of working with Sigma's new 300 to 600 f4 a few weeks ago, and I wanted to put that lens to the test. I wanted to go out and experience what the lens was capable of. And so I decided to create kind of a cinematic journey through the different landscapes here in Arizona, how wildlife interacts with the landscapes. And I wanted to bring the biodiversity in a way that you guys could see what the Sonoran Desert really has to offer, because it's absolutely beautiful here. So that's what the whole experience of why I wanted to create that documentary, that short little 14-minute documentary, and bring the Sonoran Desert to you guys in a way that was both visually beautiful, but also informative too. I wanted to kind of take this time to kind of talk through what was on in my brain, what was going on inside me as I wanted to create this project. So initially I kind of started just testing the lens, getting out to some nearby locations near my home here in Phoenix, and looking for wildlife. There's a couple areas nearby where I was able to film a coyote and some burrowing owls. And I really got the chance to kind of get firsthand experience working with that lens. And I was just kind of blown away with the optical clarity and just the amazing, incredible ability to stay out later, like I've already talked about. If you want to see more about the details of the lens and what I thought about it, I do have a full review, which you can check out in the links below. Many people don't realize that the Sonoran Desert is actually one of the most biologically diverse regions in all of North America. And we have such an incredible amount of access to nature and to wildlife here in this state. And I wanted to bring that in a way that showcased really the brilliance of nature. And so I had the opportunity to travel around the state a little bit, got down to southern part of the state where I was able to film some of the Crested Cara that you see in the film. And that was a new one for me. I've never really worked with those birds before, and it was really neat to see the parents bringing food to the nest and taking care of the young. It was extremely windy that day. I think we was gusting up to about 30 miles an hour, maybe even 40. There's a lot of dust in the air. By the middle of the day, it was just absolutely atrocious. I was actually really impressed with the lens itself, because the optical stabilization was able to correct for a lot of that. Still a little bit of shake, all said and done. However, it saved the day. I was able to salvage most of that shoot, which was really quite incredible to work with that lens.
On the desert floor, a different kind of predator glides across the landscape.
I had this really cool encounter with a western diamondback rattlesnake, which was quite amazing because you see these snakes out and about, but you don't typically get a chance to spend that much time up close with them. And the other thing with working with the Sigma 300 to 600, I think in my review, I kept saying that the lens had like a minimum focus distance of 9.3 feet when you're at 600. It's actually more like 9.2 feet if you're at 300. And if you go out to 600 millimeters, it's more like 14 something feet. So I just wanted to correct that, but that's quite a lot of distance. So when you're filming a rattlesnake or any kind of dangerous animal like that, you've got at least 14 feet of buffer to work with to keep the animal in focus. So working on this story really kind of reminded me how much I really love working with telling stories about nature and bringing these important stories to you guys. And it's a lot of fun to create them, honestly. And I really enjoy interacting with you guys on social media or in the comment sections. It really brings joy to my life to be able to interact and connect to people who are also passionate about wildlife. And I think one of the cool things that I'm excited about right now is I do have a couple of short films that I just released exclusively for people who are members of this channel. So if you become a paying member of Filming the Wild's YouTube channel, I've got 2 films that are exclusively for you guys there. You're also welcome to join my Patreon channel. I have them over there as well, where you can enjoy. One of them is called How to Catch a Wolf, and it's a unique look at how, when I was filming a story on Mexican gray wolves a few years ago, how we actually went into the wild and how we actually were able to film with the biologists as they were capturing Mexican gray wolves to radio collar them for their study and their research that they do. And so it's a really awesome story about just the interactions of these biologists doing the work that they do. And of course you get to see Mexican wolves. And then I also have a story in orca on southern resident killer whales if you're interested in that. Both of those films, they're short films, they're roughly 9 minutes and 6 minutes. So if you'd like to watch these films, you do have to become a paying member. So if you'd head over to my Patreon channel for as little as $3 a month, or here on YouTube, same price, $3 a month, you get exclusive access to not only these 2 films, but any of the films that I'm going to be putting out there exclusively for members of the channel. That support really helps me be able to tell more of these stories. The work that I do with my nonprofit Real Earth Films takes me to places all over the world, and to create these stories, I edit and I spend the time on my own. Any of that support allows me to be able to edit these projects, get out and to tell new stories, get out into the field to film other areas that are not part of those projects. So any of that support goes directly into allowing me to create more content for you guys. So your support is greatly appreciated. So if you're interested, be sure to check out my Patreon channel or sign up here on YouTube and just hit that join button. There's links in the description below as well. But anyways, enough of that. Let's just keep going back into this story, because in creating stories about nature, I love the creative process. All right, so let's talk about actually putting the film together. You get all this footage, you get all of this really cool, awesome behavior that you can utilize in your film project. So it's a matter of how do you put the footage together in a way that can actually tell a story. So one of the things that I do when I go through and look through footage is I look for the storylines. So you look through at the beginning of the cinematic journey, you kind of start in this water, this oasis, this beautiful lush green wetland. For that part of the story, I actually utilize footage from using the Sigma 60 to 600 so I can get a little bit different range of focal length, so I could actually zoom out and be more wide for the landscapes or punch in for some more tight. So I have footage of otters, I have footage of a great blue heron that's in the water there, some beautiful cinematic drone shots of that region to kind of bring the viewer into the story, to kind of set that tone. It looks way different in those images than what people typically think of what the Sonoran Desert, when they think of a dry, dusty, arid landscape filled with cactus and heat haze, etc. So by presenting this beautiful lush green thing, it gets people thinking, I want to check it out and stick around and see what this film is more about. So then we transition into the bat sequence. And so in telling the story about this, I also figured I wanted to do this through narration. With the bats, I wanted to talk about how there's so many different bat species. We have 70 different species of bat here in the Sonoran Desert. They hunt using echolocation, etc. So then the footage showcases how the bats move acrobatically through the air, utilizing that really sensitive sense of hearing as they echolocate their prey. So that was partly how I put that piece together. And then we transition from our bat sequence into a beautiful story about the cactus and the super bloom that was taking place at the time, with all the saguaro and all the flowers that were presenting. And kind of I wanted to take this idea of like a cactus, a saguaro cactus, it's kind of a home base, and it provides safety and presence and shade and different things for so many different species, and they have different relationships to the cactus. So I wanted to bring that story into it. So we worked with different areas where there was pretty good blooms of cactus. We filmed this kestrel, and it was just beautiful to see how it came in and fed the young. And then also working further down the storyline where we actually saw the Cara utilizing a saguaro cactus in its nest. So that just kind of ties in that whole component of how one particular species of cactus, the saguaro, can provide a refuge for so many different animals. And we kind of transition from up in the air with saguaros and cactus and the elevated aspects of biodiversity down onto the ground, where we focus on the rattlesnake story. And I kind of wanted to bring in a bit more about kind of this spooky kind of element, this kind of, ooh, we got danger, there's a snake on the ground, and just kind of make it just a little bit more kind of sinister. And so I added a little bit of music in that part to kind of elevate that part of the story and create that mood.
They don't just rely on smell. Heat-sensing pits allow them to detect warm-blooded animals in complete darkness.
Another really big creative decision that went on into this story is allowing nature to breathe and not utilizing music very often at all in this piece. In fact, in the whole 14 minutes, we only utilized songs, I think at the very beginning and in the rattlesnake section for brief moments, just to kind of help set and introduce a bit more of an emotive component to the film. But otherwise, it's all natural sound. It's just the sound of the desert. It's just the sound of yourself into the environment. And that's something that film is known for, is that you have to create these sounds, because as you film, you don't often have the opportunity to actually capture the sound on location, especially if you're filming at different frame rates and like slow motion, that doesn't always capture sound. So you have to add that sound into your post-production. And so that's basically this whole story, is all the audio you hear from it is actually sound that I have brought into from either my own library of sound or finding other stock sounds online that could help supplement and trying to create that sound design, which is very common in the industry. The next big component is the narration, and figuring out how do I tell a story utilizing the narration that doesn't take away from the actual images, but rather enhances what you're watching. And so once I get all of the footage kind of mapped out, it helps me kind of formulate what I want to say with the narrative itself, as they call it writing. So as a writer, when you're writing, it's writing, yes, you're writing the script, but you're also writing the visual story too, right? As I put the visual story together, it speaks to me and tells me how I want to actually word the story itself. So as I'm watching the images, I'm feeling inspired by what's coming to me, and that's how I then go and write down the actual narrative script so that the narrator can read it and deliver the performance that enhances the story. My partner and I, we work together, and she lent her voice to be able to create the story, and it's perfect. I think maybe I'm just partial, but I enjoy working with her because her voice just lends so much to enhance these stories. With voice acting, you kind of create emotions, and you be able to work with how do you draw the audience in. Do you get a little more quiet? You get a little more intense with the sound of how you're going to narrate. So that's all part of kind of help bring the audience into the story even more, which to me is really, I enjoy doing that a lot. So if you haven't seen the film already, there's a link in the description below. I highly recommend that you guys go right now, click that link, watch the film, and come back here and leave me a comment. I want to know what your favorite part of the film was. What did you enjoy the most about that film? You can either leave a comment in this video or you can leave it directly to that video. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'd love to kind of create more community around the films that I'm doing too, so I would greatly appreciate that. All right, so I know I don't normally do these kind of sit down talk videos, but just wanted to do something different and kind of change things up a little bit and talk a little bit more about my experience with the film and why I did what I did, and just bring that to you guys in a new kind of exciting way. And if you like this kind of video and you want to learn more about what I do with filming the wild or even my work with Real Earth Films, be sure to subscribe to this channel because I have a lot more content like this coming here in the near future. Be sure to give it a thumbs up. And again, let me know what you think of these films. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. And if you want to watch those two films, head over to my Patreon channel or join as a member here on YouTube, and you get access to those two films, which will help out this channel and allow me to do more films like that. So thank you so much for watching. I have a new video coming out very soon. So in the meantime, keep your eye out for the next episode of Filming the Wild.